we're going to get into a little bit about how I got into essential oils. This is really important because essential oils are not conventionally recognized in the medical world at the moment. And although there's a growing popularity with essential oils, and there are medical doctors and symposiums and such taking place and clinics opening up with essential oils involved, it is a slow-going progress to get people on board with the things that have been studied 19 years ago in medical studies, already proven, and the facts are already there. So I'm going to share my story. So back in 2011, I gave birth to my fourth son, my third living son, and I decided to go back to school to become a licensed paralegal. If you get to know me a little bit, you'll actually learn that I didn't dive into becoming certified as a holistic health professional until 2016, but I've been passionate about it and using and exploring the holistic health world since I'm going to say probably about 12 or 13 years now. So that would be about 2005, okay? So I have a lot of experience with holistic health. I just decided that it was about time I got actually qualified with it. So back to my story. In 2011, I went back to school full-time to become a licensed paralegal. I did this while I was off on a maternity leave. I took a 2-year maternity leave while my youngest son was home. My second youngest son started kindergarten the year after, and my oldest was already in school age and in school full-time. During the day I studied a lot, and during the evenings I attended classes. My whole weekends were school, and I did that for 2 straight years. At the end of the 2 straight years, I returned to work. I was fortunate enough to obtain a job that was more legally related, although didn't necessarily need my paralegal skills, but it was more in tune with what I was doing before, because before I was a secretary for a dental program, so very different streams. And while I was working a job where I made more money, it was a better position to be in. This is shortly after I had just become fully licensed, so I wrote an exam. I'm actually licensed with the Law Society of Upper Canada as a licensed paralegal, and I went back to work, and I was working full-time, and I became very ill. I want to say 2 months after I was fully certified, so 2 months after I put in good 2 years of full-time studies, working and got the job that would give me more money and stuff, and the whole point of going to school and trying to do something different, I became very ill. I became so ill that I couldn't actually stay at work anymore. So I was experiencing embarrassing digestive issues to the point that I was having accidents at work, and I couldn't actually stay at work. I had to stay home. I had to stay close to a bathroom, and I was in a lot of excruciating pain and couldn't manage a lot of things. With this all in mind, I went to my family doctor that I had for, I'm going to say, I had the same family doctor for about 11 years. He was there for me for 3 of my babies that were born. He was there for me through previous health concerns that came up very short term, and he was able to help me get specialists and cure things. So I thought we had a really great, trusting relationship. It was my family doctor that I trusted the health of my whole family with for 11 years. So I went back to him. He signed me off on a sick leave. And then he signed me up with medication for diverticulitis. I can't exactly explain what that is, so if that health condition is something that interests you, you can look that up. But it is a digestive health issue that typically affects older populations, and so the medication he prescribed is very strong. And I've started taking the medication. I had a very severe reaction where I was in excruciating pain. I could barely do anything, and I was vomiting and such, and I ended up in the Emerge. At the Emerge, they told me to go off the medication. They didn't understand why my doctor would prescribe something so tense without actually having a true diagnosis to go off of. And then they told me to go back to my family doctor to follow through more on my health. So I went back to my family doctor with all of the information. He booked me for an appointment to go see a gastroenterologist. So those are specialists who deal with all of our digestive stuff. And he put me on a medication. At the time it was Pantaloc, and I think those are called like SS. They're like some kind of uptake. They reduce your stomach acid. So he thought I just had high stomach acid then. And the medication, within 12 hours of taking it, not even, I think it was like 4, but it was 12 hours after I'd taken the first dose, I finally had to go to the hospital. I ended up with head to toe hives, a severe reaction, allergic reaction to the medication. So the Emerge doctor suggested that I go back to my doctor and ask for a different medication to reduce stomach acids. So the next day I went back to my doctor, covered in hives, and he prescribed me another stomach acid reducer. So before I was on Pantaloc, and then he prescribed me something that's in a similar family, and I got home, took that, and my hives got worse. So I went to go back, but he said, no, you have the appointment with the gastroenterologist, and he didn't think I should go off the medication. So I stayed on it, hoping for some kind of positive results. I had the appointment with the gastroenterologist. A few days later, they did a colonoscopy and a gastropsy. So if you don't know what that is, that's a tube in both ways, one from the bottom and one from the top. This is something that I volunteered to do, knowing that the tests are very uncomfortable, but when you're off work, you're in pain, and you feel like you can't live a life, and you've got small children at home, and you feel like you've lost everything that is you, you will do anything to get back to where you need to be. And so that's the point that I was at. He also did an MRI for me and a few other things. The gastroenterologist test came back with nothing. I went back to him with my allergic reaction to the second medication, and he prescribed me a third one in a similar family again to reduce stomach acids. The hives never improved. They got worse and worse every time and with time. So finally I went back to Emerge, covered in hives, and the doctor looked at me and said, you've been back here now several times. I'm going to refer you to our medicines clinic, and I'm going to send a report to your doctor. So I went back to my doctor, and my doctor took one look at me, and now it had been several months of going on and off medication and trying to manage all of these reactions and the pain I was in. And he took one look at me and said, you've been off work for 3 months, I don't have any answers, and so you should go to Emerge and talk to a psychiatrist. So me being naive and believing that my doctor was looking out for my best interests, I actually went to Emerge, asked to speak to a psychiatrist. I got an appointment to see a psychiatrist the next day. I did speak to a social worker that was on call at the Emerge. When I went in to see the psychiatrist, I had to fill out all kinds of assessments. I had a conversation with the psychiatrist for about an hour. He took one look at me, and he could see the severe allergic reaction that I was having, plus I started swelling, and I was unable to eat at this point now, so I was starving, but only drinking mostly water, and I wasn't losing weight because I was swelling and covered in hives. And he said, you might have some emotional stuff going on. I can't determine if that's related to your health condition right now or if it's past trauma or whatever. And he goes, there's definitely things that you could probably use working on, but right now the focus should be on your physical health. And he goes, I can't help you with that. You need to go back to your family doctor. He goes, I'm going to send a report suggesting that they take you to an endocrinologist. I actually don't know what an endocrinologist is, so I'm not even going to speculate what that is or what that involves. But I went back to my family doctor with the same information. The doctor had the report, and he took one look at me and said, I thought you would go to the psychiatrist in the hospital and tell him a big story so he would sign you off on a psychological leave. He says, I don't think your symptoms are real. I think you're faking it, and I'm going to sign you to go back to work now. Even though I was covered physically head to toe in hives. So as you can imagine, after almost 4 months now of being very ill, having a reduced income, not being able to almost leave my house to do anything. I had to take a change of clothes to every doctor's appointment I went to, every hospital visit, because I was still having embarrassing accidents. He gave up on me. He wasn't going to refer me to any more specialists. He didn't care what any more of the doctor's reports were going to say. And he told me that if I had a problem with that, I could go find a new doctor. So I was very disappointed. At that point, my family didn't know what we would do with the rest of our lives. Because my income had been reduced on a sick leave, it was about to become more reduced because my sick leave was taking more than 3 or 4 months. And we needed to start looking at what would be a financially smart move. And so we had to sell our family home, the home that we bought when my husband and I first got married, the home that we raised 3 of our boys in. And we ended up moving north, 40 minutes to Innisfil. We were living in Newmarket before. We cleared our debts and we set our life up so that we could live a life with one income, because we didn't know if I would ever be able to work again. We didn't know if I'd ever be able to get help. I canceled my plan with my family doctor because our relationship had clearly been compromised, which I'm still unclear what I did wrong, but it is what it is, and I hear I'm not the only person who experiences these things. And I needed to get a new family doctor, but to get a new family doctor, I had to be physically living in Simcoe County, which is where Innisfil is, to be able to sign up for a new family doctor. So I had to go several months without a family doctor and getting any help. So I started seeing a naturopath. I spoke to a holistic nutritionist, and I had consulted with a homeopath. I started doing a lot of herbal stuff, but nothing was really truly clearing up or helping anything. Things would curb some of the symptoms and reactions a little bit, but there were no actual true answers. When I got all the way to Innisfil, moved here, my employer finally called because now my doctor won't sign off on a sick leave anymore, and basically gave me an ultimatum that I either needed to return to work within a month or I could willingly resign and maintain a good reference. That's after a 9-year working relationship with no issues in employment prior to this one sick leave. So that was incredibly disappointing that I had put all of my heart and soul into my employer and I got back nothing. And for those who don't know, I had a government job. So this kind of shows where they look out for us, right? So I lost my government job, I lost my home, and I lost my family doctor, and now I was, on an island without a boat anywhere. Once we were in Innisfil, we settled in. We bought and moved into our home in September. By the November, so 2 months later, things had started to calm down a little bit. I started feeling ever so slightly better, but I was still bedridden most of the time. I had my youngest son at the time home with me. He was 3.5, so he wasn't school age just yet. He still had another year. And he was super, super easygoing. He just watched TV and played video games. I felt awful as a parent because I couldn't actually spend any true time bonding with him or taking him to do things that are appropriate for kids his age, because I spent all of my days sick in bed, unable to do things and function. My husband had to make the meals ahead of time so that I could come down and heat it up in the microwave because I couldn't feed anybody. I couldn't make dinner. Come November, a friend of my husband reached out to me on Facebook and sent me a message and said, I have these essential oils. Would you be interested in trying? Now, you have to think I have used and dabbled into essential oils for years in my holistic health journey, but I was not using them on a therapeutic level. I was using them for fun, like to scent my house, to spray on my linens, to create fun like bath soaps and beauty products, right? I never in my life considered that essential oils could be used for my digestive health or any other conditions like headaches and such, right? So I skeptically agreed to accept the samples that she wanted to send me. So she asked me my top 3 health concerns. She asked what other things my family was dealing with. So we talked a little bit about my husband's anxiety. My youngest son wouldn't sleep at night. He had a hard time falling asleep. We talked about my second son has some focused issues, so he's kind of like borderline ADHD. and he struggled with school and such. We talked about my oldest son, who has high functioning Asperger's, so she said some things to deal with that, and he's also diagnosed with ADHD. And then we talked about my digestive health and allergies that run in the family and such. So she sent me all these cute little bottles for anxiety, allergies, breathing issues for my son who's asthmatic. She sent me the oils for my digestive problems, and so we ended up with like 5 little vials for all the various issues. And this beautifully printed up and explained sheet of paper that I read it, and I was so overwhelmed, I kind of froze and didn't know what to do. So I left it sitting on my bedside table with 5 samples and didn't touch it for a week. And my husband's friend sent me a Facebook message and said, how are the samples going? And I just said, I haven't got to them yet. I'm so sorry, right? And she said to me, the magic doesn't work if you don't try them. So, with that in mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to try them. Still procrastinated, didn't do it for a few days. And then I remember just one morning waking up, my eyes filled with tears as I could barely move. And I was supposed to get up, and now my child was late for school, which was happening constantly. I could barely move. I could hear the kids moving around downstairs, and I felt like the worst parent in the world because I felt like I should be there, making sure they're getting breakfast and they're not getting into things, and just being present. And I couldn't move. And I looked over at my side table, rolled onto my side to try and get some relief by changing position, with tears in my eyes, trying not to bawl my eyes out as hard as I could. And there, I could see through all my foggy, teary eyes, 5 little samples sitting on my bedside table with an extra long note to explain what to do and how to use it. So I wiped some of my tears away, and with my foggy eyes, I tried to read up what I could use for my digestive problems. And it said DigestN, which is an essential oil blend by doTERRA. And so this tiny little bottle, I open it up, and it's like just apply topically. So I applied it to the area. And within 5 to 10 minutes, I experienced relief. Relief that I equate to morphine that was given to me in one of my Emerge visits when I was having all those digestive problems months earlier. And I was shocked. I was literally shocked because it's an essential oil. Like, isn't this perfume? It's not perfume. So this is where my journey started. This is where I got interested in what was happening. But I was not convinced that doTERRA was the way to go. So my skeptical self didn't like the idea of a network marketing company, or an MLM as some call it, multi-level marketing. My skeptical self didn't believe that doTERRA would be the only brand in the world that created the best oils in the world. And my skeptical self took a 1.5-year journey. I bought a book on how to treat conditions, and I bought oils from all over Canada. I have family that lives, my husband's family lives in London. I travel as far south as Toronto. I had a grandmother that lived in Ottawa at the time. I have family that lives north, like between Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie, and I hit every health shop in my travels throughout a 1.5 years. In that time, I got pregnant and had a little baby girl. I went through my whole pregnancy with 0 medical interventions. I did an entire label without any medical help. I had midwives. I did not have to take heartburn medication, and you're talking about a woman who went through 4 pregnancies with boys, drinking Gaviscon from the bottle. Nothing. I had peppermint essential oil, and it did all the favors in the world for me. I also had, and then I gave birth to a little girl who cried and cried and cried and cried and would not sleep for a good year. For a good year after she was born, she was the worst sleeper in the world. So my 1.5-year journey, I had bought hundreds of oils. I had spent probably thousands of dollars trying every single brand I could get my hands on. I never thought to buy them online at the time. And finally, I just remember sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning at the end of April of 2016 and thinking to myself, when does the sleeplessness end? When can I put a baby down without holding her for more than an hour so I can get my own actual sleep? It was the hardest year of my entire life. And remember, I have 3 other kids before her, so if I say she was hard, trust me, she was hard. But I was scared. I didn't want to put other oils on her. For some reason, despite all, not despite, in fact, all of my research kept pointing to the fact that oils are often not pure from the stores. They are cut with things. There is a huge flaw in the essential oil world of what they're doing and what they're labeling on the labels. And so as a protective mother that I was, I did not want to use something synthetic or toxic to my daughter. And so I signed up. I enrolled with doTERRA, and that's how my journey began. And when I began my journey, I decided that my heart has been in holistic health for a good, 12 years now. So at the time, 12 years, 13 years. So why not give back to all the people I love? There's no reason I can't do this as a profession. There's no reason why I can't be professional about it, and there's no reason why I can't be certified about it. So I decided to become a certified aromatherapist, which I successfully did and completed in May of 2017 after taking a summer off and being a stay-at-home mom for 5 kids. So as you can imagine, it was a bit challenging. And building a doTERRA business, doing it. And now I build an online wellness business as a doTERRA affiliate. So that is who I am, and that's my journey. Check out my other videos. I'm going to dive into what's happening in the essential oil world, why I use brands like doTERRA, even as a certified aromatherapist, because you'll find that there are some who don't have all the information. And I will get into, I have a fly. And I will get into the top 10 oils and how you can become part of my wellness community so that you can have all the amazing benefits that my family and my community are experiencing right now. Okay, thanks guys. I can't wait to see you at the next video. Bye!